Hello, Creative Cooks. Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Phoebe Cooks channel. I'm your host, Phebe, and today we're stepping into a month-long series of Japanese recipes, starting off with Tamagoyaki, which is a popular Japanese omelette recipe. I'm making a plant-based version of Tamagoyaki, and for this, I'm going to start off by making a simple salad, which would be such a refreshing side dish to pair with the Tamagoyaki. That would be a carrot and a cucumber salad seasoned with a few ingredients that might be found in a Japanese kitchen, but with a twist of my own. For the salad, you're going to need 2 whole carrots. I'm using a potato peeler here to create really nice long strips of carrots so it can easily absorb the seasonings that I'll be adding to it later on. Next, I have here 2 Persian cucumbers. I'm also going to create long strips from them like I did for the carrots. Feel free to add in another cucumber to make it 3 if you'd like. They're really juicy and tasty as well. Once you're done doing that, season the cucumbers and carrots with rice vinegar, some honey for sweetness, black sesame seeds for extra crunch, a nice sprinkle of coarse sea salt, water to balance out the vinegar, and ginger to add a really nice balance of spice and freshness, which is a common ingredient in quite a good amount of Japanese recipes, and I highly respect that because I love fresh ginger. To peel the ginger, just scrape the fresh ginger root with a spoon so you can save the core of the root. Then cut it up into slices, then into tiny cubes. You only need a small amount of this, so a little goes a long way. Add the diced ginger to the combo and toss everything together to give all the components a really good coating of the seasonings. Then taste a piece of carrots or cucumber to make sure that the seasonings are just right. Set it aside to marinate, and we'll get on to the next part of this breakfast. Next, I'm going to make the Tamagoyaki. Being that this is completely plant-based, instead of using eggs, I'm using red lentils, which is also high in protein and easy to cook compared to other types of lentils. To the pre-washed and pre-soaked lentils that I already drained, add some water. Next, add in some tamari or soy sauce. Soy sauce tends to contain gluten, so if you subscribe to gluten-free diet, tamari will work in your favor. Add in a nub of fresh turmeric root to add a really nice pop of golden color to the tamagoyaki. Then season this with coarse sea salt, chili pepper flakes for a touch of spice. And instead of using granulated sugar, which is a common ingredient in making tamagoyaki, I'm replacing it with raw honey. And you can do that with agave if you prefer. Give this mixture a really good blend in your blender until everything is well pulverized and set it aside. Now there's so many different toppings you can add to your tamagoyaki. I'm going to be adding in some seaweed to layer my tamagoyaki. During my research for this recipe, I watched so many videos to see how different people make their tamagoyaki, and I'm just quite intrigued to experiment with different fillings, and this is one of them. I also tried one with mushrooms and spring onions before filming this particular recipe, and it tasted lovely. Trim your nori sheets, set it aside, and turn your cast iron skillet to high. Then oil your cast iron skillet really well to prevent the mixture from sticking to the bottom of the skillet. Then give your golden red lentil blend a really good mix before pouring it into the cast iron skillet so that you will get a homogeneous mixture and flavoring in every bite. Once your cast iron skillet is hot enough, reduce the heat to low so that every layer cooks through well, and pour in some of that red lentil mix. Then spread it out thinly using a spatula. Within about a minute or two, it will start to form bubbles since it has baking powder in it. And as it cooks, this is a good time to add in your toppings. It could be mushrooms, spring onions, steamed vegetables, or even nori sheets. After layering your toppings, now is a good time to start making your first roll. I find that it is easier to roll the first layer towards you by using a spatula together with chopsticks to make it easier. And since there are no eggs in this recipe, yes, it might be a bit difficult to roll this, also depending on the vessel that you're using. I'm using a cast iron skillet which I oiled well to help with the rolling process. After making your first roll, oil your skillet to start the process all over again after pushing the first roll to the back of the skillet. Before making the next layer, mix the red lentil mix again to get rid of any separation in the mixture. Then pour some of it into the skillet. Spread it out evenly and be sure to get it all the way to the edge of the first roll to make it easier to roll that one into the layer that you are making. If you're making this for the first time, patience is definitely required. I had to learn that. And feel free to make as many layers as possible. I believe I made about 4 layers, which is quite substantial for an energizing breakfast meal. And I love seeing the Japanese experts make even more than 6, 7 layers. It's so fascinating to watch. If you haven't watched that already, I would highly suggest that you binge watch on a few Tamagoyaki videos. Another thing to mention is that many times Tamagoyaki is known to be made in a square vessel. So in case you do not have a square vessel, this is a great alternative on how to handle the mixture in such a way that you still will be able to get a roll even without having a square cooking vessel. The goal is to use what you have and make the best out of it. By the way, I referenced my red lentil flatbread recipe to make this recipe because I knew that I had to use a particular grain that would be able to form easily when I cook it without doing too much finessing, since this is completely plant-based. So, if you're looking for a gluten-free flatbread recipe to try out for burritos or to scoop up some soup or stews, you also want something that's high in protein, I've linked this one up in the tab on the right hand side of your screen. If you're watching this on your phone or on your laptop, it's in the info card or even in the description box. So you might as well just check it out on my channel so you can make some too. If you're still watching this video, that tells me that you're loving this video, you're loving what you're seeing, and that makes me very glad. So be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up so YouTube recommends it to other creative cooks like you. And do me a favor by sharing this recipe with a loved one who is looking to make more plant-based and Japanese recipes like this Tamagoyaki in action. Thank you so much. Once you're done making your tamagoyaki with as many layers as you want, transfer it to a sushi mat and roll it into the mat to help it form a perfect roll. And if you need a sushi mat, I've added a link in the description box below to the one I'm using here. Let your roll sit for about 2 to 3 minutes so that the tamagoyaki can form well before you unroll it to cut your roll into nice thick slices. I love seeing all the layers of the nori sheet I added in the tamagoyaki during the process of making it. It's really beautiful, so feel free to try any toppings of your liking to make that happen. Once you're done slicing up your tamagoyaki roll, set it aside, and since I want to go all in for a Japanese breakfast experience, I'm making some miso soup. Very simple, with mushrooms and spring onions. Let's make some. I'm serving my Japanese inspired breakfast with some tea, of course, and I would like to know if this is something that you would make or have made prior. If that's the case, let us continue this conversation in the comment section below. Creative Cooks, there you have it. My take on making a plant-based tamagoyaki with a really refreshing cucumber and carrot salad, together with a warm bowl of miso soup and steamed rice on the side. My goodness, what a loaded and nutritious breakfast. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat again in my next video. Happy cooking!